There are two places where those with a passion for speed and water could compete. Inshore, on lakes and rivers, or offshore, on the open sea. In the more glamorous resorts of the Mediterranean, the fastest and most spectacular offshore races of all take place each summer. It began in the mid-70s, the preserve of the super rich. They would sail to ports like Venice, Monte Carlo, and Saint-Tropez to spend a civilized weekend racing against friends. For the Italians and the French, it became as much a cultural event as a sport. It aroused the passions of some of the most passionate people on earth.
Yes.
And as the races grew and became more professional, spectators began to arrive. Some came for the glamour. Some came simply to admire the boats. But mostly they came because the sport of offshore racing is one of the most dangerous sports in the world.
Hey guys, we got an accident. Yeah, go ahead.
It has cost the lives of 30 drivers and left many more injured. In this crazy high-risk sport, one man is legendary for his ice-cool nerve. His name is Steve Curtis.
Hey, I'm going to open it up now. You ready?
His job is throttle man. His rivals regard him as the most aggressive and fearless racer on the sea, particularly when the water is rough.
Offshore is a fantastic sport because it's probably one of the only sports in the world that you can have such a big boat, which is 40 foot long, so much power. We've got over 1,800 horsepower. You've got no control when it's in the air, you've got no control when it lands. It's like going on a roller coaster ride. That's why it's one of the most adventurous sports in the world today.
On the days when he does not crash, Steve Curtis usually wins. In 6 years as a professional throttle man, he has won the Class 1 World Championship twice. Now he's vowed to win it a third time, a feat no one has yet achieved. The throttle man's job is to control all the power contained within the two 900 horsepower engines. With him as a driver who steers the boat, there is no other type of motorsport which has this unique level of teamwork. Each year, Steve's team designs and builds a new boat. The designers are still exploring the limits of speed and endurance for these highly specialized machines. Steve Curtis's boats have always been at the leading edge of race boat design. But this revolutionary new boat has a specific task to perform. At the age of 27, Steve Curtis wants his world title back.
Really, the whole object of building this boat is to get the World Championship title back. All the other races are important, but we are really only heading for one target, and that's to get the World Championship back. It will mean a lot to me, and I'll be down in the books then as the only guy who's won it 3 times.
How much more extensively you're going to do lightning? It's fairly, it's been taken quite a way. I don't know how far you want down that road you want to go.
Steve has assembled a multinational team, each a specialist in his field.
The team is super important from when the boat started to be built to the finish of the championship. Really, if you are a throttle man and you're serious about it, you've got to know everything about the boat, because you can have a little problem out there, and if you can fix it and still get finished, still get points, then you've done your job right.
Here's the throttles. That's where I earn my money. This is the part when we're moving these constantly. These are moving back and forth. If we take off into the air, then I have to back off so the engines don't over-rev. And when we come back down in, I have to accelerate. So these are real free and easy. And I'm moving these constantly throughout the race. And that's really what a throttle man does. Keeps moving these through the race and sets up the boat.
The throttle man's job is really one of extreme complexity. He has many little forces he has to balance. The throttles are the main one, and that determines the speed of the boat. But he also has to work the trim, he has to work the flaps, and he has to keep monitoring the engines to make sure that nothing's going wrong there. It gets very tense in the cockpit of these boats. I've been there with some of the top throttle men in some of the fastest boats in the sport, And really, if the throttle man's doing his job properly, it's just like poetry. You know, that hand is just responding exactly to each wave. The boat is keeping absolutely straight and level. Oh, it's magic if he gets it right. It's very, very painful if he gets it wrong.
Last season, Steve Curtis got it wrong. He crashed his boat at 100 miles per hour. The boat sank to the bottom of the Mediterranean, and with it sank Steve Curtis's hopes of victory. The news came as no surprise to the men who had spent more than 10,000 hours building it.
Well, when we got the news, I said it wasn't really news because it happened before. And it just means more work for us. It's handy, you know. We build the toys for him, he breaks them, and we build another one.
Right, now what we planned to do was a full 30 degrees.
Steve is closely involved with every stage of construction.
The ram length was designed.
Many of the design elements bring their own risks. A wrong decision now could jeopardize the £1 million gamble the boat represents. The central cockpit is an important innovation. It is built to be aerodynamic and has a canopy from an F-16 US Air Force jet incorporated in the design. This canopy is tested to withstand a chicken hitting it at 2,000 miles an hour. Open cockpits were used in the early years of offshore racing, but they were notoriously dangerous. The death of Stefano Casiraghi, the husband of Princess Caroline of Monaco, demonstrated the risks.
About 4 miles into that leg, I saw the bow of Stefano's boat come up, but I was concentrating on throttling because you really have to concentrate hard. Suddenly Vincenzo, my driver, turned around and said, Casiraghi's gone, Casiraghi's gone. So we turned round because obviously by that point we were slightly past him, and I couldn't see Stefano, so I dived in the water and swam over to the boat. And I swam down as far as I could to one side of the cockpit, and there wasn't anyone there. And I went down again and looked over, and Stefano was kind of attached by a cord that he couldn't get out of the boat. He was just floating underneath the surface.
Steve's dangerous career is something his family have learned to live with, as his father explains.
It is dangerous out there. He loves doing it. He knows what he's doing. His life is in his hands. And he is also very sensible. I mean, I've got a lot of time for people have accused him of being a little bit crazy on the water and driving over the top, but in fact he doesn't. He drives to the limit.
Time is beginning to run short for Steve and the team. There is less than a month before the first race, and the engines are only just being installed. These are another part of the design risk. They must be powerful enough to propel the 5-ton boat through the water at speeds of up to 125 miles per hour. But the more powerful the engine becomes, the more critical its tolerances. The risk of it breaking down increases. Another key design feature is the aerodynamic tunnel between the two hulls. Like all catamarans, this will catch air as it passes through, helping the boat to lift clear of the water, where it becomes faster and more stable. The problem with many early racing boats, like monohulls, was their inherent instability. They were also extremely painful. In heavy seas, they could batter the crew until they bled, internally. But perhaps the greatest risk of all in Steve's new boat is the metals used in its construction. These are super-light space-age alloys. If they are too light in rough water, the boat will fold up and be destroyed. A raceboat expert is invited to see the work in progress.
My reaction to this boat is fantastic. What you're looking at here is something straight out of a child's science fiction dream. You can imagine sort of Arnold Schwarzenegger sort of climbing into this sort of thing with a big belt on with muscles rippling, perhaps a few lions sort of behind. The shape of the hull, especially when you see it with a canopy on, it's just exactly like a spaceship, especially before it's painted.
I feel that every now and then, because I'm getting cooped up in the workshop and you're constantly thinking about one project, it's nice to go out and have a blowout in a boat. And I also think it's good because you're on the water, so it's good for me to stay in contact with it anyway. Offshore, as many people know, because there's been quite a few fatalities, is a dangerous sport. You're dealing with a lot of horsepower, a lot of boat, a lot of weight, and you're dealing with the sea. And the sea, there's no one's mastered that yet. It's one of the world's most powerful forces. So there's not a lot you're going to do in a little tiny race boat that's going to, you know, make you better than it. So you've got to have a lot of respect for the sea.
No opportunity is lost when it comes to saving weight. Using lightweight paints, developed for the airline industry, will save 150 pounds.
Now, you know, it's about 2 o'clock in the morning now, so the guys have been working all night, getting it painted. They have to work at night due to the fact that the mechanics are working in the day, they're crawling all over it, and they're making a lot of dust.
Right on schedule, the boat is finished. It is the moment Steve has been single-mindedly pursuing throughout the winter.
I like to have a look at the boat as a whole, as a finished whole, and it's the first time and the last time I'll be able to do that. It's plain, it hasn't got any of the livery on it, and none of the colours or the little tweaks that they're going to do to it. This is how we imagined it from the drawing board. I mean, really, at this stage, you know, I'm hoping it's going to be the best one we've ever had, the fastest, the best handling, and then maybe in a few months' time we'll walk away with the World Championship.
With just days to go before the Saint-Tropez race, the boat is ready to be launched. These are nervous moments for Steve and his team as he takes the boat out for its first test.
What I think we ought to do is run that up and down Southampton water. Everything feel all right? Right, you see where that sailboat? Pass to the left of the sailboat.
Water pressure's a bit high. It might go down when we hit about 90. At about 100 now. I think it feels good. Water pressure's still high. We're going to have to trim that off when we get back.
Ah, yes, perfect. I think we better call it night because it's getting dark quick.
Well, for the first test, it was fantastic. The boat was handling well, the speed was good, and I think the boat's going to be a winner. So, next stop, Saint-Tropez.
The competitors arrived together at Saint-Tropez in the south of France to an enthusiastic reception. It will be the first race of the European season. It will reveal if Steve's new boat has its promised potential or not. Against him are 30 teams from all over Europe, from Spain to Scandinavia. Over the weekend, 80,000 spectators will come to Saint-Tropez for the race.
You can't help but not feel this glamour in Saint-Tropez when you see these 200-foot mega yachts and the big sailboats and, you know, the girls walking around with their little shorts on and their bikinis. I mean, you can't help feel that, you know, this is not a bad old life. But I'm here to do a job, you know, so it gets so you don't even see the glamour and you spend most of your time concentrating on what you've got to do.
6 a.m. on race day. Steve supervises the final preparation of his newly painted boat.
No, mezz'era.
Vincenzo Poli, his Italian driver, is preparing the navigation charts for the race. In the past, Steve has had boats sabotaged by rival teams. Special measures must be taken to make sure this does not happen again.
A can of aerosol, wipe them down, and any pots we're going to use paint black. Right here. Paint them in there black, in there black, in there black, in there black. One we can see where they've been running, the other one everyone knows there are pots.
Race day is as important for the sponsors as it is for the racers. Many of them have paid up to £1 million to put their name on a boat.
The sport as a whole seems to be on the increase. We've got more boats racing every season. We should have 30 Class 1 boats here for the first European race, and there'll be more coming in through the season. So it's got to be on the up and up. It's as short as 5 years ago. We were just getting sort of 3 or 4, maybe 5 boats competitive, and another 5 or 6 which were really uncompetitive. But now we've got 30 boats, and I would say out of those 30, a good 25 of them stand a chance of winning.
Hearing that the sea is calm, Steve makes a last-minute decision to change the propellers. It is a tactic like a tyre change before a Formula One race.
It makes you a bit more edgy, you know, it makes all the guys edgy because they've got to work real hard now. I mean, it's more pressure, less time, and the more time you have, the better most things are.
Yeah, I'd have liked it to be, you know, rougher than it is, but, you know, that's racing. You know, for right now, later on in the season, we might want it flat calm, but right now we need rough water.
Well, I think Steve's chances today, he's got to be hot favourite. I've just been out on the course and given the OK for it to run. And the way Steve drives, there won't be any sort of going back. There's no foregone conclusions at all in offshore. You can never rely on anything with the sea. And of course, worse than anything is the odd hole that suddenly appears. Suddenly a big hole, big splash. But with his experience, he'll be over the top of them.
Oh, God, I love the excitement.
With only minutes to go before the race begins, a competitor from Finland has an engine problem.
Shame, because they're good guys, you know.
Despite the frantic efforts of the mechanics, they are forced to retire.
When you're racing out there in these conditions, there's a hell of a lot of G's on your body. You're going to get wax bumps, so it's going to hurt out there. You can get some real problems with the kidneys. I remember a few years ago I had a problem where we were taking so many whacks, after a race you used to urinate blood, we used to come out pink, but it's just a case of just shaking your internals to bits. But we wear body belts now, and that sort of stops a lot of that. No, I think when you do a sport, you do it to your maximum, and you're thinking of the day. If you're thinking of a long term, how am I going to be when I'm 60, you wouldn't do anything, but right now I couldn't care what I'm like when I'm 60, I want to have some fun now and go out and win some races.
The race boats leave for the start line. At 12:30 precisely, the race will begin.
Oh, buddy, let's go and see what she's got. How are you feeling? Right, there's a green flag, let's go.
Steve takes a position amongst the front runners, and his boat is performing well. Back in the pits, the team supporters wait anxiously for news on the radio. The owners and managers of the teams follow their boats in helicopters. This is the only way they can see the action as the race is fought out over 140 miles of open sea.
Rougher than I thought it would be. I'm going to change down a second and tuck it down a little bit.
But Steve is not the only racer who's been building a boat over the winter. After 80 miles, his two rivals, the Padrini boat and Fresh and Clean, are still ahead of him.
It is an incredible feeling. I mean, you've got to do it to feel it. When you've got, you know, a 40-foot boat, 5-tonner boat coming neck and neck, and you're 2 feet away from another boat running 110 miles an hour, it's exciting. You really do run over the limit, and you're just giving it all it's got, but you lose all sense of command when the boat's out of the water and you're just running for your life.
I'm going to go and run for second here. Whoa, let's go for it. Go.
The big push moves him up to second place. Back in the pits, the team managers of the lead boat wait nervously, fully expecting that Steve will overtake before the finish line. Then, disastrous news. A message from Steve.
Lost all its power!
In the final sprint, the boat's been hit by a mechanical problem. Forced to retire, Steve limps back to port.
Well, I think we had low oil pressure. When we came in and went wide on that bend, we had real low oil pressure, so when we went out, we just got into second place. We were catching up, going into the lead, and it just dropped down to like 3.9 bar. And I guess it went, something got a big vibration, we packed up, and that was it. So there you go. It was Damiano's day to day, and he ran a great race. You know, he was running hard and strong, you know, and everything stayed together, and that's racing. When it does that, and you win, you can't beat it. Well, you know, we all have our days up there, I guess. No, it doesn't make you feel great, but I mean, hopefully I'll be there next time.
I believe in my heart of hearts, this boat is going to be a fantastic boat when it's all tuned in. There's quite a few races left to go in the World Championship Series, and it's early stages yet, and I think that, you know, we're going to push for it. We're going to give it everything it's got. If it's possible that we can do it, we will. Because there's nothing I wouldn't do to win on the water. You know, if I've got to push it that little bit further, I'll push it that little bit further. But you've got to, you know, you just got to win. We're bitter enemies on the water when we're racing. But, you know, we're friends as soon as we get back to land, which I think is important. That's what sport's about.